All right, without further ado, let's slowly start it, and more people will join shortly after, that's for sure. Today we have Scale, as you all may notice from the name, it's all about scaling. And we have Fabio, Director of the Operations and Business Development. I would pronounce your last name, but I'm afraid I will butcher it. Could you please give us a brief introduction and about your role at the project before we go on with the questions?
Sure. Yeah, it's a tricky one, right? So as mentioned, my name is Fabio. I'm heading up operations and BD at Scale's foundation. Scale is a fully EVM compatible scalability solution. So it's a Ethereum scalability solution with zero gas fees. So we offer with our architecture, Scales offers an invisible Web3 experience, and we're currently targeting especially games, applications in AI and DeFi, given the zero gas fee model.
Fascinating. Well, let's learn more things about Scale. I'm sure there's a lot we can talk about. And the first
Yes,
question is on Scale claims to be the world's fastest blockchain designed for Ethereum scaling. Could you elaborate on the specific features and technologies that make Scale stand out in terms of speed and scalability compared to the other blockchain solutions?
Yes, of course. So I mean, like scale setup is a bit different to others to other protocols, but we need to differentiate between tech features and the architecture itself. So there are tech features like our own consensus called ABBA, like the band, the Swedish one, and BLS signature cryptography. So that's more like the tech feature, which allows like super fast transactions. But also the architecture is rather unique compared to, let's say, layer 2 solutions or rollups. So the architecture of Scale is modular. That means with the amount of nodes joining the network, we can spin up more, like we as the SKALE network can spin up more and more scale chains, blockchains within the SKALE network. And that's the big difference. So we can't be really be classified as a layer 2 because we have our own consensus. We're also not really a layer 1. So we just call ourselves Ethereum scalability solution. I think that's the easiest way to describe ourselves. And compared to, let's say, layer 2s, which only have one specific scale, like one scaling chain, not scale chain, we have several chains. Right now, we have 20 scale chains in the network, 20 different blockchains called scale chains.
Cool, very cool. And basically, so what makes the biggest difference from my understanding is that it's not just one chain, but multiple chains, 20 precisely. That kind of aggregates everything, right?
Correct. Yeah. So that's the 20 scale chains. That's just the number with like the amount of scale chains there are right now in the network. As mentioned, like if there's higher demand of new scale chains, we can, like we as new scale chain owners, they can spin up their own scale chain and have an additional chain in the network. So it's that modular solution compared to others which are not able to scale in that way.
Cool. So definitely pretty much infinite scaling for Scale here.
Yeah. I mean, depends on the amount of nodes, but yeah, theoretically, if the node amount would be infinite, yes, there is an infinite amount of scale chains available.
Cool, fascinating. Well, let's go on with the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Developers use Scale tokens to access Scale chains as chains. Could you provide insights into how the subscription model works and how Scale tokens are used to facilitate this access?
Yes, that's a good question. So Scale is a proof of stake network, like many others as well. And validators, they need to run the network and they need to be incentivized somehow, right? They have operating costs to be paid. And in other proof of stake networks, POS networks, validators have two revenue streams. So one revenue stream is always the fees or bounties, however they call it, on staking rewards. So if a token holder stakes to a network, they get staking rewards, and validators, they normally charge a percentage of that reward. That's normally paid out by inflation. And then obviously the second revenue stream, which again in a traditional POS network, is the second revenue stream is gas fees from validating blocks. But Scale works a bit differently because it's a subscription model. So it works similar to AWS. So every Scale chain owner needs to use the Scale token pay for a subscription fee. But since there's like the Scale network has zero gas fees, there is no gas fees rewarded by validating blocks. So they need to get paid in subscription fees. So validators get, instead of paid by gas fees, they get paid by subscription fees. Also in Scale tokens, but that fee, that subscription fee, is always paid in Scale tokens, but equivalent to a specific and predefined US dollar amount. So validators have two revenue streams as well, but different to other POS. The second revenue stream is, instead of gas fees, is getting the subscription fees from that chain owner, basically. So from applications, developers having access to a specific Scale chain.
Very interesting. I do like the comparison you made to the AWS, because it's kind of clicks with a lot of people, I believe, because it's so widespread. So kind of, you just mentioned, I'm like, right, well, all right, that would make sense to me.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what we can see, especially in the enterprise industry, like enterprises, like traditional ones, like Web 2 ones. They understand the Scale model way better than, like having pay or needing to pay for transaction fees for fees per transactions, which is only a Web3 thing. I mean, no enterprise is able to scale with paying for gas fees per transaction instead of a fixed or predefined amount per month or per year.
Right. No, this makes a lot of sense, especially from the classic perspective, non Web3 perspective. For a lot of people, I'm sure it's kind of mitigating some barriers to entry, because they just understand this model because they are familiar with that from using it in the other services, whatever name it.
Right.
Cool, very cool. Let's continue on with the questions. Scale's role in enabling developers to deploy their own EVM blockchain. Can you share data or success stories that illustrate the extent to which developers have utilized this capacity to create diverse applications on the SKALE network?
Yes, so that's another good question. Exactly. So each and every Scale chain is EVM compatible, so Ethereum virtual machine. So basically, what you can build on Ethereum, you can build on Scale as well. Success stories, there are already a few out there. So we recently, like if you check out our website, scale.space, there is like a stats page. If you check out the stats, you can see huge growth just within the last 2 months, because there are some applications right now which have hundreds of thousands of unique active wallets per month or even per week. And that's only possible with the zero gas fees, because they can provide users an application where users don't even need to know that they actually use that specific application, that they need to use an application which is built on top of a blockchain, because of the super fast transaction, high throughput, and the zero gas fees. So there's no gas fee to be paid. And that kind of like stops kind of like helps with the Web3 issue, of signing transactions and paying gas fees. And that definitely enables a whole new bunch of new users from traditional markets like Web 2 to Web3. And so also what's unique is each and every application could get their own Scale chain, right? So they don't need to. There are basically two chains right now, or two different types of chains or chain models which are in the network. So one is that specific chain. So as an application, you can basically rent or subscribe to your own Scale chain, to your own blockchain, and you are the key owner then. So you have a dedicated access to that chain. Or what we, especially the community, actually came up with during this year is a hub model. So we have right now there are four different hubs in the network. One is the liquidity hub, the innovator or NFT hub, the gaming hub, and the community hub. And depends what kind of application you are, you can apply to deploy on one of those hub chains. Architecture is exactly the same as your own DApp specific chain. But let's say that the benefit and the beauty of a hub chain is that you share your ecosystem with other applications also on that chain. And last but not least, obviously, you don't need to pay a full Scale chain. You share costs as well. So there are some benefits if you deploy on a hub, if you don't need your own scale chain. But that's always up to the application if they're willing to. If first of all, if they have the size for the need of a large own app specific chain, they can obviously rent one. But if they're rather early stage, or if they don't need like millions of transactions per day for themselves, they can easily deploy on a hub.
Cool, very interesting. Yeah, I'm playing with different pages on the Scale website, and just stumbled upon the stats page, and it seems like right off the bat I can see the huge amount of users increased by last couple months, almost triple the amount. No, that's pretty crazy. I guess we are aiming for the bull run, but that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, you know, it took us quite some time to build what we've built right now, or where we are right now. But we were always, we're still here for the long game. So we weren't focusing on all like the previous bull market. We kind of that might be then also visible in our DeFi side, because DeFi right now on Scale is not huge, but we started a campaign, so we're ramping up liquidity on Scale as well. So that's all coming in the next few weeks, months. But we kind of missed that DeFi hype, you know, the last bull run with applications being on Scale. But right now, like since basically during the whole bear market, we've been building like our engineering team and developers, they've been building like crazy, and also applications on Scale. Because if you look at right now, I would say around 70% are games on Scale. If you're a game, if you start developing your application, it takes some time. In some games, obviously, I mean, not everyone, but many of you, of listeners, they probably know GTA. I mean, how long have we been, or are we waiting now for the next GTA? Obviously, those games on Scale, they're not like AAA Web2 traditional games, but we have some major and some unique games coming as well. But their development time or roadmap is also like several years, like 2 to 5 years. So we can see now like some of those applications going live, and they are adding new users every day, because again, like we can offer that invisible experience. So Web2 users, they can easily use an application on Scale without even knowing that there is a wallet or whatsoever in the background. So that's why you can see a huge growth recently.
No, this is cool. And yeah, you mentioned the AAA games, and definitely we don't see many of those within the Web3 space. I mean, I can't even name anything on top of my head right away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends a bit on what's a like Web3 AAA game, and if that can be compared with another AAA game, right? Like a Web2 one. I don't think right now it can. But we have some great games coming, like some shooter, like Stray Shot, for example. They've been building for the last few years, and if you check them out, you'll see. I mean, they're a very sophisticated project, well funded. So they're going to, in my opinion, they're going to have one of the probably best games out there once they're live.
That is cool. Definitely looking forward to see how that develops, and how like it all contributes within sort of Scale ecosystem. Because especially in the past, a lot of Web3 games were pretty much glorified Ponzi schemes where people just wanted quick gains, and not so much for the user experience, and even and like I guess at the pinnacle of kind of Web3 gaming, the cost of getting into the top 3 Web3 games was so high. It was the barriers to entry were incredible to start playing the. Oh my God, what was the most popular one? But can't remember. It used to be a couple years ago.
Well, I mean, I remember the CryptoKitties on Ethereum, but that was 2017, I think.
That was super early on.
But that was fun. But fully agree. So I mean, there's so much being built right now on the network, and to be honest, like everyone, I think it's an open secret that many like game engines or great or like huge gaming studios, that they're also building on their like building on solutions, integrating certain pieces of certain blockchain pieces, on-chain transactions, etc. And I mean, the next big thing, right? AI, and combining gaming with AI. I mean, that's already happening. Depends on like NPCs and storyline maybe of a game. But if you imagine, if you're, for example, a game, if you can if you pick up, or depends on how you play, you pick up a new weapon, and that weapon is created through AI according to how you played until that time. I mean, that's a unique NFT getting minted on that. So there are so many opportunities and possibilities, which we haven't seen yet at all. But yeah, huge potential.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The synergy that's about to come with AI, it's kind of scary to be honest, because you see how powerful the AI tools become and becoming on a daily basis just more and more powerful. Sometimes you can't even tell what's AI, what's not. And I can't remember. I think some European countries right now are, having mandatory kind of notes for the AI produced whatever art or whatever. So it has to be noted as AI, not done by a person or something.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? So we actually have a application on Scale. They're currently building it. It's called Overlay. It's actually co-founders there, top National Geographic photographers. I think they have like 10 million followers on Insta. So they are like very famous photographers, and they co-created that application, which prevents AI tools like ChatGPT, etc., to use actually pictures which are uploaded to that overlay application. So they are basically protected through a watermark, an invisible watermark. So AIs, and in the background that watermark, like everything is with IP right at the end. So lawyers they'll have fun in the future with all those AI created pictures and photographers in general, like art and documents. But that overlay application helps, especially artists right now and photographers, to prevent that AI tools use their pictures, which is an amazing solution and hasn't been around yet. And that's super interesting to see. Like there are some, like advantages of AI, but also we need to make sure that like some pieces of art are protected by AI.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen the Terminator movies, so definitely don't want to go down that route.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue on with the questions before we drift away far into the AI and gaming side conversations.
Yeah, that would be another AMA.
Yep. Can you elaborate on the staking mechanisms associated with the SKALE tokens? How do token holders participate in staking, and what rewards or incentives are available for those who actively stake their SKALE tokens?
Yes. So the SKALE token, I mean, again, like it's a proof of stake token. It lives and is natively to Ethereum mainnet. So compared to many other protocols or scalability solution, the SKALE token is not needed on Scale because we have zero gas fees. That's a different token. I can talk about that later. But the SKALE token lives on Ethereum mainnet. So staking and delegating to nodes happens through Ethereum or on the Ethereum. And we have around 115 active nodes in the network, all run by external validator operators. So none of the Scale nodes are run by either the foundation or by Scale Labs, the core team behind Scale. So they're all decentralized. And staking happens either directly through, for example, Etherscan. You can use Etherscan. There's actually a guide, a step-by-step guide on our website or on our documentation. You can use My Ether Wallet, directly stake it through My Ether Wallet application. You can use Unagi. Unagi is a service provided by one of the validators, or you can use centralized exchange like Binance or OKX. They also allow staking of Scale token directly through their exchange. That's more a centralized solution, but that's possible as well. And there was another platform in the past which, like, with a more user-friendly interface, because I mean, we're aware that Etherscan is not for everyone, because you need to write contracts, etc. So we're building our own user interface right now, and probably will launch that within the next few months as well. So it's going to be easier for Scale token holders to stake to one of their validators of choice. And yeah, that's basically what right now I think APY is around 10 to 11%, and then obviously depends on how much the each and every validator charges on those staking rewards. Normally it's around 10 to 15% again. on top, like from those rewards you receive.
Nice. But yeah, totally agree with you. There has to be an easier access for the average user, especially the newer people, to be able to figure out the staking because, right, as you mentioned, what it is originally, especially, a couple of years ago, it's such a wild west. Now we see those more user-friendly solutions where people just aside from the centralized exchanges, right, that we are, I guess, not really fans of, but they are still there, and just everyone has to be very careful with those. I recommend not to. You can do your business there, but don't hold your funds there. You've seen what happens, and that can happen again. And definitely with what's going on with the most major ones these days, I'd be extra careful. And yeah, always remember it's your funds. You want to keep them with yourself. But yeah, definitely the kind of ease of access and eliminating barriers to entry, I think, is the next big thing that we should all focus collectively to bring more people, more traditional users, Web2 users into the space.
Yeah, correct. Agree on that.
All right, let's continue on. Will on the upcoming levitation protocol, specifically on SKALE G, known as the L1 gigachain, also be gasless transactions, or will it consume SKALE as gas?
Yeah, so I saw quite a few questions asked about levitation protocol and SKALE G. Levitation protocol, just for everyone out there who's not aware of it, levitation protocol is currently being built and is SKALE's upcoming CK solution. And SKALE G is like a monster chain, I would say, so like a layer 1, layer 2 chain combined. But engineering right now is working almost day and night to finalize and to make sure that everything works. Once there's a better time frame or a fixed time, I don't think we will announce any fixed time, but if there is if we're getting closer to the launch of both SKALE G and levitation, it will definitely be announced. But to the second question, what about SKALE gas fees exactly? So the SKALE G, the monster chain I mentioned, like the layer 1 giga chain, that most likely, according to our research right now, there most likely will be the gas token. There will most likely be the SKALE token, the SKL token. It's not finalized yet, but it looks like the SKL token will be used for that. So not the SFuel token. The SFuel token, by the way, for everyone else, the SFuel token is the zero gas fee token on SKALE. So that's the one with zero economy value behind it. So that's why we have zero gas fees. But the SKL token is the main token for the utility token, which basically operates the network. And looks like SKALE G is going to have integrated the SKL token.
Cool. That's a lot of taking. Can people go somewhere and read, more about
yes, of course.
and everything?
Yeah, I mean, we have our own blog on our website, so all the updates are there. Or follow us on Twitter. We're constantly launching, new apps are constantly launching there, so they can test those applications out as well. But the best source to read about what has happened in the past is if you check out scale.space, go to our blog. We have like ecosystem updates there. There are technical, like also videos, and by the way, our founders, Jack O'Halloran and Stan Klatko, the two co-founders, they have some videos together and explaining what SKALE is. So if you want to dig deeper, feel free to check it out. It's scale.space, SKALE with a K.
Cool. All right. The next question, we kind of briefly touched on this one in the beginning, but I guess there's more to talk about. Modular architecture is the key feature of SKALE, allowing it to scale as new nodes join the network. Can you provide more details on how this modular approach works and the potential scalability it offers?
Yes, very, very happy to do so. So as previously mentioned, each SKALE chain is a known EVM compatible chain, so Ethereum virtual machine. But even though each and every SKALE chain is a known blockchain, they are connected through SKALE's native bridge. That bridge is called IMA, Interchain Messaging Agent. So that bridge still allows that scale chains can actually communicate and like transfer tokens from one chain to another chain, also with zero gas fees. So that's a big difference, right? So even though we have kind of like different blockchains in the network, they still can communicate with each other. And again, all transactions are gasless or gas free, meaning let's say your game, you have your in-game token or NFT or whatsoever, but let's make an example with the in-game token. You as a gamer, you win a specific amount of that in-game token on that gaming hub where the application is built on. If you as a gamer want to trade that in-game token, you can just use the liquidity hub where there are decentralized exchanges on, and you can trade that token there. And to do so, you just need to transfer it. There's a known tool which Scale created. The Scale Labs team created that, and you can use that tool, transfer that token to the decentralized exchange, and trade it there if there's a liquidity pool available. So all of those transactions are actually zero gas fees. So you as a trader or you as a gamer, you can always move your tokens within Scale and don't need to pay any fees. And that's just how it works. So they can communicate with each other, even though they're kind of like separate chains. They're still connected through IMA and also through the shared security pool, but that's a different topic. And the second one was more details on how modular approach works. Yeah, exactly. So basically, again, like we have 20 different scale chains. Each of those scale chains, they have their own throughput available. So right now we have 20 scale chains, and every scale chain can process around like proven numbers, not marketing numbers like other networks, but proven numbers, can process right now around 10 million transactions per day, just one scale chain. So that makes, thanks to 20 scale chains in the network, that makes 200 million transactions per day right now. This ends up then in, what is that, 2,500 transactions in total per day for all the 20 scale chains together. But right now we have 150 nodes in the network. So that amount of nodes, like the current amount of nodes, would allow to have 60 scale chains in the network. So instead of just 20, like we have right now, there would be a possibility to have to triple the amount of scale chains if the demand is there. With tripling the amount of scale chains, obviously the total amount of transactions per second will also go up. So instead of around 2,500 transactions per second with 20 scale chains, we can go up to almost 7,000 transactions per second with 60 scale chains in total. So, and as we've mentioned in the very beginning, if there's even higher demand, Scale, like validators, they can just spin up new nodes and new scale chains can be created. So that way we have basically infinite amount of transactions with new scale chains coming and new nodes joining the network.
Interesting. Well, I really like the approach that it's kind of theoretically infinitely scalable. So it's definitely a lot of potential use cases, and right, if we face, it's easily adaptable to the demand aspect, right? So if there's a huge demand,
correct,
there's more chains, and then kind of compounds everything. So very, very robust in the long term, in my opinion. So from what I hear right now.
Yes, yeah.
All right, let's continue with the questions. We have some more left from the prepic ones, and we open up the live ones. Can you explain the process by which Scale validators earn rewards, both through renting chain dApps and through the issuance of new tokens? Inflation.
Yes. So basically, as I've mentioned previously, like validators, they have two revenue streams. One revenue stream is the fees they charge for staking, for delegation rewards on the Scale token holders. So that's those tokens, that reward or those fees they charge, that's coming through inflation. And then the subscription fees. The subscription fees are also a part of how validators actually earn rewards, but the difference there is the inflationary rewards, if you want to call them like that, like the fees on the delegation rewards are always an amount in Scale tokens. So it depends on the inflation rate, depends on the bounty that validator actually gets. That's always paid in Scale. Like distributed in SKALE tokens. But the SKALE chain pricing is also paid in SKALE, or also earned in SKALE tokens, but always predetermined in US dollar, in a US dollar amount. So validators, they have those two revenue streams, and it's just, I would say, as an enterprise, if you're a validator, you can more or less calculate quite well how much that second, like the subscription fee income will be, because it's always equivalent in US dollar and not in the SKALE token. So it doesn't matter how much or how much the SKALE token is worth. The fee is always equivalent in a US dollar amount.
Cool. So very, very thought through sort of process.
Indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks to our founders.
No, that's definitely an important aspect to kind of have things covered on all sides in that regard, especially when it comes to the issuance of new tokens, because it's a very hot topic, and then people, for some reason, people think that deflationary tokens is like the only way to go, but then they don't understand the concept of inflation or disinflation and etc. But
yeah, I mean, tokenomics is a hard piece of work. There are so many different models out there. Some are proven to fail, some aren't yet. So I guess we'll see quite a few models, either exploding or imploding in the future. But hey, that's if it's a young industry, right? We'll see quite a few new projects coming in the future, and old projects leaving. So that's
yeah, no, absolutely. The industry is still very, very young, and if you look, in a kind of big scheme of things, the total adoption percentage is still super, super small comparing to your traditional Web2, any other industry, pretty much. And then if you think about because crypto, for a lot of people, it's still your trading, and people know about trading, and they think it's all about you trade stuff and you earn it, but they have no idea about decentralization, the kind of DeFi aspect, or any of that. So that's still very new, and I'm sure we will see things elaborate a lot more in a couple of years to come.
Oh yeah. We'll be here. So our network is quite sustainable, with the current model. So we're not too scared about it. We're actually more excited about what's to come, because we know what's currently being built on SKALE. And I mean, if you see what's already been live and what's been announced, I mean, there's just way more and very cool projects and bigger brands going to be launched on SKALE.
Cool. Well, a few more questions left. What kind of support and resources does SKALE provide for new developers joining the platform?
So SKALE, I mean, as most protocols, I'd say, SKALE also has or runs some grant programs. So our grant structure is a bit different than others, than other protocols provide. Maybe like in the space, there are like huge amounts being paid for applications or by protocols, just that application is going to build on that specific protocol. What many, especially like community members from all those communities, what they don't know is that a big piece of those grants being paid to those applications, that they actually need to be used to subsidize transaction fees. Because as an application, imagine you just go live. If your users need to pay, maybe not in DeFi, but if you're a game, and if your users, if they would need to pay, even if it's 1 cent per transaction, so if you pick up whatever, a health package or a gun or a shield or something like whatever, and you need to pay for all those transactions, even if it's again just 1 cent, you will never have like the possibility to attract like millions of users. And SKALE, with the zero gas fees, we don't need to subsidize transactions. Basically, it's transaction fees for our application. So our grant structure works a bit different. So we provide, instead of telling, or let's say giving away cash and liquid grants, we provide applications, the ones which are part of the grant program. We provide a free SKALE chain for a specific amount of time. So with that, those applications, they can build, let's say, they can deploy, go live on Scale, and they have 12 months free scale chain access. And their users, users that never need to pay any gas fees, right? But that application doesn't need to think about paying a subscription fee for 12 months. So they can just deploy a game or an application in general and can attract millions of users and without paying any cent, like not even 1 cent for that. So that's how we support those applications. And that's just like, like the basic piece of the grant, which we offer. Obviously, then there's co-marketing, there's developer support, there's also some different Scale token grant pieces included, but it's just never we just never pay applications to build on Scale because we don't think it's sustainable. And if you look at the current stats, you can see, I think, that it pays off. Like our model at least compared to others.
Cool. No, it's definitely a different approach, but I think it's a more sustainable long-term wise, and definitely attracting more people essentially, because you don't have to pay those even minimal but still fees. That definitely a barrier to entry, and always has been, always will be in any industry, if you will.
Yeah.
All right, we have last question left, and then we open up the chat to the live ones. Could you explain how Scale's decentralized blockchain as a service combines the benefits of both private and open blockchains, and why this approach is particularly advantageous for enterprises?
Yes, so a big difference. What I probably should mention here is that Scale is not a private blockchain. It's not private, but it's a permissioned one. So that means that every Scale chain owner, so being it an application which owns their own Scale chain, a DAO which might have a business model to sublet that Scale chain, a hub like we have already, or an enterprise. Which might be interested to just have their own Scale chain, also marketing purpose wise. So those developers, they have access, they have the keys, basically the private keys to that chain themselves. So they can define they can decide who can join their Scale chain and who can't. So if there's like the hub network, for example, which is run, by the way, by DAOs as well, or by the community, they can basically decide who is entering or who is able to deploy their application on that specific chain. And as an enterprise, it works pretty much the same. So imagine you are like a SaaS or like a platform as a service company, like a Web 2.1, and right now you sublet your platform. And many other smaller applications they can just deploy on that specific service of yours. Scale works pretty much the same. So Scale, if you're an enterprise, depends again what kind of enterprise. But if you think about that business model, you can, even as a private person, you can rent a Scale chain and then you can sublet it and define the price yourself. So let's say there's right now the pricing, the Scale chain pricing right now. There's actually a proposal out there. So it'll be around, in the beginning, it'll be around $3,500 per month. So you as a person, you could basically rent or subscribe to that Scale chain yourself, and then you can sublet it. So if there are 20 applications interested to build on that, you can just charge them with a few $100 and you still make profit, because it depends on, let's say $200, 20 apps, that's $4,000. And the Scale chain just costs around 3.5. So you make like $500 per month revenue. And that's different business models. That's also why enterprises are interested in, because they just understand that piece. I've like before, like we've talked a bit about AWS, right? They get that business model and economics model compared to having users paying for gas fees. And you could see it like last Friday, I think Polygon had like 10 cents per transaction again. If you're an enterprise, if you have 1 million transactions per day, imagine paying 10 cents per, or if your users need to pay 10 cents per transaction. That's just not scalable at all and not sustainable. So on Scale, it works a bit different, and there are different business models possible.
Awesome. Right. You mentioned the transaction fees that are going on currently. Well, just throwing it out there, the current state of Bitcoin is pretty insane with all the BRC ordinals. It's so bad. it's insane. And it's just like people keep building those tokens and like BRC, DeFi, and it's just like, I mean, I guess, it's just one of those things. If you can, doesn't mean you should. So, because it's been terrible in the past couple of weeks, and like you try to send small transaction and it takes forever and it just costs way too much.
Oh yeah, insane.
Definitely right. Different approaches are awesome, and from the, I don't want to say just the enterprise perspective, but just from the business perspective, this model is a lot easier to forecast, right? Because when you have the floating transaction fees, you have no idea what it can cost at any point of quarter. But if it's like that, you can forecast and you can kind of model your expenses, model your revenues, and kind of do the whole classic accounting that is not very present in the crypto space.
Correct. That's exactly the thing. And the beauty is like each and every scale chain, like if one scale chain wouldn't be powerful enough for one app, they could just spin up a second scale chain. But the throughput is always the same. So imagine if you're an enterprise, you would share like on other protocols right now. But if that could happen, right? If you're a large business, and then just because there is some minting happening, like an NFT project having like a crazy mint, transaction fees go from 1 cent to 10 cents, and transactions are getting super slow. And if you want to kind of fast forward transactions or speed them up, you just pay a ton of money for it. That's just not feasible for an enterprise or for any business actually. And on Scale, you just always have the same throughput. You always have zero gas fees. And that's what's really unique in the network.
Awesome. All right, let's let people speak. I'm seeing some hands, seeing a lot of people requested. Let's try to get someone who has been here for a while. I think this person has been here for a while. Leo, adding you as a speaker. Let me not forget to type in your handle so we can pick later on. Leo, you can speak now. You have to unmute yourself now. You have to unmute yourself, mate.
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So like you mentioned that nodes there for a moment, how many scale nodes are up and running in your network? And can anyone come along and set one up? Thank you.
Thanks, Leo. So right now we have around 115 active nodes in the network. So they are all run by external validators. So from like smaller teams. I mean, I wouldn't suggest to run a Scale node yourself, but from smaller teams, like 2 or 3 people teams or team members to larger entities or larger validators like Blockdaemon, Corals One, Figment. Like the large players. So it's a big variety and a big set of different validators running all those nodes. Again, like neither the foundation nor the core team runs any node, but that's how it's set up. To get access to run a Scale chain or a Scale node, there is like one big hurdle. That's the minimum staking requirement. So each and every node requires 20 million Scale tokens to be staked to. So if for example, if you would be a large Scale token holder, or if you would be a group of Scale token holders, if you would be interested to run a node, there are some hardware, like some node infrastructure requirements, but also the token requirements. So you could theoretically join the network, yes. But right now, given its decentralization, we're in constant talks basically with all the validators. We don't have access to the nodes itself. So that's why we always need to keep them up to date. If there's an update coming, they need to update those nodes or their nodes themselves. So we can't just plug the power and just say, hey, okay, we exit. That's all done by the validators. So, but if you're a new one, there are just some requirements which you need to fulfill.
Okay, nice. I am interested. I will do that. Thank you, bro, for the information.
Sure.
Thank you for your question, Leo. So I'm just gonna hop in real quick. You said there's some requirements, so you can't just kind of come in hot, and basically start opening the new scale chain. Could you please go over those requirements briefly for the users?
Yes. So there are requirements. Again, they're more like on an infrastructure level. So that node, the node you operate, there is requirements on the hardware or software, but also the token. So the token amount, again, that's the minimum staking requirement. So each and every node needs to have 20 million scale tokens delegated to, otherwise that node is not active. So those are the two, I would say, major requirements. But because you just mentioned it, so just as everyone knows it as well, one node, like one scale chain, is not supported by one node. So one scale chain is supported by 16 subnodes. So each and every node has 8 subnodes. So theoretically, it could be that every node actually supports a part of 8 different scale chains. So that's that share. I think I just mentioned the shared security model. That's the shared security model, because all those nodes are built on top of Ethereum, and basically an eighth of a node is supporting a scale chain, like 1/16 of a scale chain. So that's how the node infrastructure works. So it doesn't matter if you actually, like you as a scale chain owner, for example, you can choose or pick the nodes you want to have you support, because they're always rotating. So there's a random rotation integrated. So let's say one node would get attacked by whatever or by whomever. That node would get basically exited from that scale chain, and a new node would be looped into that scale chain to support it. And that randomness factor makes it super hard to attack one scale chain, because again, there are 16 subnodes, so 16 different nodes supporting that specific scale chain, and those 16 subnodes have other subnodes, like those 16 subnodes are part of one node, which support other chains. So it's super secure network as well when you look at the shared security model.
Right. No, you gotta keep things decentralized in every aspect just to keep them, secure. I think that's kind of the main idea behind it. All right, let's get some more questions then. I think this person has been here for a long time. Is Victor Web3, adding you as a speaker. Yeah, there's some error. I guess this person no longer in the space.
I think Mia has been here for quite a while. Just
Mia,
saw her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adding Mia, adding you as a speaker.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you can speak.
Yeah, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Well, it's been a very informative space so far. So I don't know. My question was actually regarding the innovator program which you have implemented. I don't know. Can you talk more about this amazing feature? What role does this innovators program play in your ecosystem? Also, can you also walk us through steps and procedures on how users will be able to apply for this innovator program? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question. So the innovator program, that's basically the grant program, right? That's one of the, that's the program where we as SKALE, as a core team, as a foundation, support applications building on SKALE. You can find it on our website. You can apply there through I think it's a type form, and you can apply for it. And there are different metrics we look at, or different, I would say metrics of the project we look at when it comes to the different size of grants and so on and so forth. So one obviously is how far are you in developing the game? What kind of team, what team is behind that application? Then, existing funding or non-funding, doesn't really matter, depends then just the amount of the grant, but so there are different metrics we look at and evaluate each and every application, and then we decide which actually gets a chance, and then they can schedule a call with us, and we basically run them step by step through it. And all of those applications which get approved, they get then support by our developer team. So our developer team helps them with deploying contracts. They don't develop anything for the application, but they support them. So maybe if you've already deployed another chain on another protocol, you can they will support you with moving your smart contracts They will also support you with UX questions. So there are different models where or different, I would say levels on where the innovator program supports you.
Just a follow up to this your explanation which you gave earlier. You also meant regarding the grants which you meant, which is part of the universal program. I don't know, is this grant option available for all users irrespective of one's geographical location?
No, so the thing is, yes, it depends. Yes, and it depends. So there is, like given the foundation which I'm part of, we're an entity, a foundation in the Principality of Liechtenstein. So that's a small jurisdiction, but they have their own blockchain law. So we need to be fully compliant to their law. The Liechtenstein blockchain law, it's basically, well, it's approved in all over Europe, similar to Switzerland, but it's a known law. Switzerland just added some, but that's law talk. We don't need to talk about that. But yes, there are some compliance requirements as well. So we ask for company details, founder details, and there needs to be either the founders need to be identified, and the company as well. We're aware that some some structures are hard to incorporate a company, like depends on the DAO structure. So there are different possibilities. It just depends. It might just take a bit more time on the legal side, but at the end we're relatively flexible when it comes to structures, but we still need to comply with the local laws and regulations. But and the amount of the grant, as you've mentioned, as far as I remember, yes, it totally depends on the evaluation. So there is no cash grant involved, so we don't pay an application to build on Scale, but we incentivize them once they're live. Like with co-marketing, there might be like a grant, a growth incentivization grant included in the innovator program. So that depends always a bit on the evaluation of that specific application.
Okay. Thank you for your wonderful answers, Fabio. Thank you, Stealth. I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. All right, we are kind of getting close on time. How many more questions do you want to take?
Maybe a last one. Should we get?
Sure.
You pick.
I want to get Victor because I'm seeing him back. I think he's been here since the beginning, and then we tried to get him once. Let's try again.
All right.
Now he's connecting. Probably some connection issues. Let's give him a minute. If not, we'll get someone else. I'm seeing the person with the name Fabio. Should we bring him on? Keep me going. Victor seems to be having some troubles. Let me just scroll through, see someone. I'm seeing a lot of listeners who's been here from the very, very beginning, but they're not requesting the questions for whatever reason, which is odd. Oh, Victor, yes, you can speak now.
Oh, there we go.
What is your main focus right now? Are you focusing on communities or market, exchange or product?
Sorry, what was the last piece?
I repeat my question.
Victor? Yeah, just the last bit, yeah, please.
Yeah. What is your main focus right now? Are you focusing on communities or market, exchange or product?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so our focus right now, I mean, we've been building pretty heavily during the bear market. So community work was rather difficult. It's more like developer community, but now like with seeing what's coming and with ecosystem and actually applications having thousands and hundreds of thousands of users, we can also market that way better. So there will be new campaigns popping up in the future, but it needs to be said, like targeting on an industry level, again, it's not solely games. We can just see like a huge demand on that right now. And that's what we focus on right now, like games, AI, bringing applications live and on chain.
Okay. I have one more question. Can I ask?
Sure, go on. Last one.
Yeah. My last question is, What is the plan for the long term and short term?
Yes. Okay. I guess ecosystem wise. Yeah. Okay. I'll just focus on the ecosystem. Ecosystem wise, I mean, as mentioned, we're a modular solution, right? Modular blockchain solution. So our goal, our vision is to bring as many users on chain. So we are here to bring millions of billion. I mean, we've already brought millions to Web3, but our goal is to bring billions of users from Web2 to Web3 and allow them that invisible experience, basically. That's our ultimate goal, right? That users don't need to know that they use an application on chain, and that's the ultimate goal of Scale.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you. All right, that was a pretty good last question. Anything you want to add, Fabio, before we wrap this one up?
No, I mean, thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord. We're mostly active there. You can also DM me on Twitter, or X, apologies. And otherwise, just follow the SKALE Network updates on our X account. Was lovely chatting to you, team, StealthEX team.
Yeah,
and,
thank you. My name is Vadim. I do business development for StealthEX. So I kind of always forget to introduce myself because there's so many people who kind of join our AMAs and they know me by this time. But anyways, thank you for joining. Really fun conversation we had today. For the listeners and for the community members, we'll be posting recap shortly after, so everyone can learn, and we'll be posting the winners for the best questions shortly. Well, let's give the man round of applause and wrap this one up. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, and thank you as well. Bye. Take care, everyone.